Welcome to another episode of the Wolf Talk podcast. We've got a special guest today, Ashlee Real Deal Eales, joining us mid-camp for his upcoming fight. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, yeah. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming.
No, I appreciate it, man.
How's your training going? How's camp going?
It's going well. We're at that miserable time at the minute, so everything hurts, and you're not looking forward to the next training day, but it's all a part of the process. We've only got 5 weeks today, actually, so in a couple of weeks. We've got 4 hard weeks left, and then we taper down, and then we're back in action, man, so can't wait.
Where is the fight?
Cannock it is. It's a big show, topped by Sam Egginton. There's about 4 or 5 titles on it. Tyler Rivers fighting Zach Evans. Minaz Gurung from our gym's fighting in his first 10-rounder against Joe Underwood Hughes for the super lightweight Midlands title, which is going to be awesome. We've got our stablemate Leo. He's fighting on the show. Niall Berry. Jess Barry's on it. It's a big card, to be fair, so it's great to be back.
Where are you doing your training at?
I box out of Boxing Clever Academy in Nuneaton. We've been there for a few years. We were based in Bedworth before. Huge facility there. Got a load of boxers. Some amazing amateur boxers coming up. My coach Lee Spare, he's a phenomenal coach. He boxed in the army, had 50, 60 fights himself. Came out, was a England boxing coach, and he knows everything when it comes to boxing. So I'm at the best place I could be, definitely.
It's good to have someone like that behind you.
Oh, definitely.
Well, as we do with all the guests, we'll go back to the beginning, see where it all started.
Origin story.
If you take us back to your childhood, how was that?
All right, yeah, it was all right. I'm from a small town, Nuneaton, Hilltop and Attleborough is where I'm from. You know them areas. You know they're not the worst places in the world, but it's just small council house estates.
Did you have a tough upbringing?
Other people might think so, I suppose. I'm not quite. I'm never too hard on myself. I'm not like, oh, you had it hard. Other people might say I did, but
just that we have a lot of people on this podcast that come from really hard upbringings, and it's kind of that adversity that turns into boxing.
No, of course.
Would you say that you follow along the same pattern of story?
Potentially, from other people's point of view, they would say you definitely came from a hard background and a tough upbringing. But my mum and dad raised me, both loved me. As hard as it was for us, we didn't have much, but they gave me everything that they could. I didn't really want for everything, but on Christmases and stuff, I might think, oh, how come they've got that and I ain't? But it was all right from a small town, council estate. And yeah, it weren't too bad.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You don't know you've had a tough upbringing. You don't see it. It's just the norm to you.
Yeah, a lot of time people say they don't know how I've turned out, how I did, considering what I've been through from their perspective. But I'm like, well, I wanted better for myself, so why would you not put the work in? You know,
you're obviously a boxer now. Were you a hard knock as a kid?
Not really. I knew I could fight, and I knew I could fight, but I didn't want to fight. I hated confrontation. All my mates could fight. We'd be out getting in trouble all the time, and I'll be the one that sort of was stood there not really doing anything because I was scared of getting beat up and I was scared of the confrontation. But I was hitting the punch balls from like 12, 13 years old and beating every man in the pub.
Wow, so you were literally starting to box.
I started my old man was play fighting from young. I was a dancer, you see, so I played football up until I was 12, and then I didn't really want to play football anymore. And I'd always dance growing up, watching Michael Jackson and Chris Brown and stuff like that. Michael Jackson and Bruce Lee. Them two people were like my idols as a kid. So I would dance as much as I could, dancing to Michael Jackson, and then practice kung fu with my best mate Taylor, watching Bruce Lee films. So that was what I did up until, just growing up really. And then when I was 12, I started breakdancing at a place called Footprints in Hinckley. Did that for a few years. And I didn't really know what I was going to do when I left school. And as we was coming up to fill out your thing for college, one of the teachers, Mr. Bennett, actually it was James Bennett, an old friend of mine now, said, well, why don't you do dance at college? I was like, what, you can do dance at college? I was like, oh, I bet. Did that. Went to college. There was Tom Compton. He was like the only lad really. There was a couple other lads, but they were like girly lads and chilled with the girls. But me and Tom Compton just did a few years of dance at college, through from street to ballet to contemporary, everything. Wow. And then I left college after a couple of years. Started performing for a company called Area 51, an entertainment company.
I know Area 51.
Yeah, with Pip and Matt.
Yeah, do you know Sonia?
Sonia, I do. Yeah, I do know Sonia. Yeah. So we went around different clubs and festivals around the country for a number of years, to be fair, up until about 5 years ago. But then it's actually 11 years this year in November, I went to watch one of my mates in a charity MMA fight. You know, the white collar ones where you get like 8 weeks training, and I'm there. I've been out at the weekend as well. I was half cut, and one of my mates that was fighting come over and he jokingly said, "Oh, one of you want to step in? Someone's opponent ain't turned up." And I was like, "Yeah," straight away. I'd been wanting to do it. My cousin John Robinson was a professional MMA fighter, and I knew that I wanted to get into it. I just didn't know how. The promoter sort of came over and said, "What, you want to step in?" I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "Come around here." Yeah, no training.
No training.
Zero training.
What, they let you do that?
Well, he took me around the back and he said, "Have you done it before?" And Dave Beale, who was training at the time of fighting, he was behind him. He was sort of like, yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, I've done a bit of kickboxing with Dave." And I think I had done 1 or 2 kickboxing classes, and I'd done about 5 or 6 Seelung Kum Kung Fu classes with Rob, my uncle Rob Mugshot, a DJ, who happens to be a black belt in Kung Fu as well.
What kind of audience we're talking at the moment at this event?
Everyone from Nuneaton and Coventry was there. Every local person, everyone that you know. There's about 1,000 people in there.
Man, you're going to step in and do your own literally for the first time.
I didn't really think about it. I'd had a couple of desperados, and I didn't tell the promoter that, and he took me around. I had a medical, and then I lent a load of kit. They got me a new gum shield that they happened to have there. I put that in, and then I was waiting about an hour, and I remember the nerves started kicking in, thinking, "What are you doing?"
So there's an hour wait between
there's about 45 minutes to an hour before I had to get in there.
At what stage did you think, actually, you know what, fuck this?
The quiet stage when no one was there, and I was doing a bit of warming up with one of the coaches that was doing the 8 weeks program with the kids. His name was John, and I went in there and I whooped this kid's ass, to be fair. He was a boxer before he got into this MMA, and I went in there and I just did my thing. I was absolutely exhausted by the end of it. It was 3 2-minute rounds, absolutely exhausted, got the unanimous. And the guy, John Dewis, shout him out, he said to me, "Listen, Ash, if you come to my gym and train, I'll give you a year free training. You won't have to pay for a thing." Because he knew my dad, he knew that we didn't have much money, and he was like, "You come in and train." So I was like, "All right, sound." So I went to his gym, and I had 2 MMA fights from his gym. Knocked them both out. One in the first round, one at the start of the second.
You started off with MMA.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Why MMA to boxing?
Well, I always had
you won 2.
Yeah, that's it. I always had a love for boxing, and they called me Mayweather with my style. The style I hit and don't get hit when I was there, and they called me Mayweather, and I was always watching him and stuff. But then I started doing unlicensed boxing and the unlicensed shows around the area. So Mick Eales was putting on some shows, and I fought on his against a boxer that had 20 plus fights, and I beat him and ended up having about 6 or 7 fights, winning them all bar one in Birmingham, where this lad, they told me he'd had 1 fight as well. At this point, I'd had 1 MMA fight and 1 unlicensed boxing fight, and they said, "Oh, he's had 1 boxing fight as well." I went in there and it was evident he didn't straight away. He dropped me in the first round. I'd actually had a massive fight with my dad before that as well, just before we got picked up, a big, massive throwing things row, both crying, really adrenaline completely gone. 10 minutes before we get picked up, and then the lift comes outside. My dad's like, "Look, let's just chill out." We went there. This kid was about 2 stone heavier than me. It turned out he had 1 fight since he got out of jail. He told me after, he said he'd had about 50 amateur fights.
How much fighting did he do in jail?
Yeah, that's it again. I didn't know how much. He was from that sort of lifestyle. He's actually not. He went. I'm pretty sure he got sent down for most of my career up until recently. I got a message on Insta, said, "I'm not sure if you remember me. My name's Sean. We had a fight years ago in Birmingham, and of course I know who he is because he was my only loss at the time, apart from my pro loss that I had not long ago, he was my only one. So of course that was a massive benefit to me, because I didn't train for the fight, and I was any of my fights up until that I just go training here and there, and do a bit of learning and go to sparring. I thought I'm never losing again, and if I lose, it's on me.
Why did he contact you?
He'd just got out, and obviously he'd seen me turn professional.
Oh, that's nice. It was a well wish.
Yeah, like a well wish. He was like, "Oh, you're doing well in that," and he might live
I thought he was going to offer you a rematch.
Nah.
Think about it.
Yeah, well, I love that one. For me,
only loss,
he was like my nemesis for years, whereas him, I was just like another win on his books. But he dropped me in the first round, and I got up, and I remember getting up and my legs weren't working. This is the only time I've ever been dropped, and I sort of flinched in the corner like that, and he went bang. His coach, on the video that I got back a bit, which is lost now, I'm still trying to find it. I'm pretty sure he sent the video of me just hitting the floor. My head hits the floor. He takes my gum shield out my mouth. His coach does, because it looks like I'm done. I get up, and the coach comes up to me, the ref, sorry, and he gets my hands. He's like, "You all right?" And I remember thinking, I'm not all right. So I say no. And he says, "Pardon, what do you say?" And then I think, don't be a bitch. You know what I mean? Don't say that. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then like he got my hands, and I went to go, and then bang, ding, 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 the bell goes. So I go back to the corner, and Eales, who took me over, he's sort of don't really know what to say. He's like, "Ash, tuck up, grab him when he comes in. Just get through this round, let's see how it is." So I go in, and I feint down and throw a big overhand right, which pops his nose, which stumbles him back a little bit. And then every time he comes in to try and make it scrappy, I grab him. I just grab him and hold. We get through that round, and then the last round was a bit scrappy. And the ref said to me after, "If you'd have fought like that in the first, you'd have won that fight." And then I went on to have about 5 or 6, maybe 7 unlicensed boxing fights. And I was doing ringside security for the Frank Warren event for the Queensbury shows. Scott Burrell, my dad's really old friend. He used to work for my dad years ago. Now he does like security for the shows. Anytime you see anyone walking out on the Queensbury shows and these huge shows, you see Tyson Fury walking out, and the big bold white fella, that's Scott Burrell. And he said, I was a ringside security.
Who's the guy that goes to Ironworks gym in Birmingham? Do you know who he is?
No, I'm not too sure. There's Bod. There's a few of them that work for the thing, and these are all like the ones that do it. And he was taking me over to these shows, and I remember just watching them. I would think I was better than these. That's what I was thinking for a lot of these fighters. And Josh Warrington was fighting. This was like he might have been fighting Lee Selby at the time. And Rob Warren, I didn't know who it was at the time, come and sat next to me, and I thought, "You look a bit like Frank, you do." He said, "Who's winning then?" And I went, "Oh, I think Josh." He went, "Our boy's winning there, sweet." I said, "You're going to see me in there soon." And he sort of looked at me, and he took my number, said, "Send over some stuff." So I sent him some bits. He said, "Look, if you go over to the amateurs and have a few, when you decide to turn pro, I'll manage you for a bit." I was like, "All right, sound." So I went to Bulkington Gym at first. I did a few sessions there because I knew Bren there, the coach at that gym, and River, one of my best mates, River Omari Wilson, he's a professional, and told me to come to boxing for ages up until this point, and he just turned pro, so I really wanted to be pro by this point. And I went there, did a few training sessions, and then I went. Adam Green, he sponsors me, but he's like a really old mate. He was a mate of my parents, and he sponsors me now through Delicious Burger. He took me to a 1-to-1 at Lee's gym, Lee's my current gym now. It was when it was in Bedder. It was run down, the walls were falling to bits. We got 3 traveller lads in the gym, Johnny, Patrick and Charles. They're phenomenal. Like if they turn pro, you'll see how good they are from now. They was with him from they were like 10, and they did a 1-to-1, and I did a little bit of sparring with Johnny. And after it, I said to Lee, "If I come here for a few weeks, will you register me?" He was like, "Yeah, if you come." So I went there for 4 weeks, got registered, and he said, "I've got a fight on the Friday and Saturday. If you want one of them, Ash, let me know." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Which one?" I said, "Both." So my first 2 fights, I fought on the Friday and the Saturday, winning both of them. Then it was quite difficult to get me a fight for a little bit. I had about a 2-year season, but I only got 6 fights in. Finished 6-0.
Still amateur at this stage.
At this stage, yeah. So I'll go to Lee, and I've only had unlicensed fights at this point. So I get registered. He said, "Look, we'll get you a vest on. We'll get your first registered amateur fight. on this date, and this was 2017, I believe. So 2017, I had my first 2 amateur fights on the Friday and the Saturday, winning them both. Winning my first one, I had a 10+ bouter. Because Lee knew that I was pretty good and I'd had a few amateur fights, he put equivalent of a 10 bouter on my card. So they had to get me someone of that equivalent. I beat him on a split decision. My second one, I had this lad, and fair play to him, Oscar. It was his debut, and he took the fight against me, and I stopped him within the first 2 rounds, I believe. And then I fought on a home show against a big lad from rugby. Bearing in mind, at this point, I weren't cutting down or anything. I didn't know how to diet. I was fighting at 81 kilos, but weighing in about 78. These lads were way bigger than me. I dropped this lad in the first round on a home show, and then he makes it really tough for the rest of the fight, and I beat him on a split decision. And then the rest of the season, I can't get a fight. And all I wanted to do was fight in the under 10 novices in the amateurs. That was my goal. River said, if you fight in the novices, you probably win that. And then I fought 3 fights over the course of a week in the next season for the novices. Fighting Oscar for a second time in the first one. We drew against each other, and he was saying that it's going to be revenge. Stop him within 30 seconds of this fight. And then my second fight the day after, I'm fighting this 6'6". He was so big, and it was a really, really awkward touch and don't get hit fight. Both of us a bit hesitant, and then in the last 30 seconds, I hit him with a shot, really nearly knocking him out. And he just made the bell. And I won that one on a split decision. And then I fought a lad called Ryan Whitehead, who went on to turn pro after that and have a few pro fights. And I stopped him in the second, winning the Midlands title. After that, I didn't go on to the nationals because I'd hurt my hand. So I didn't want to carry on with a broken hand. Well, to be fair, I didn't get it checked out. This was the first time my hand swelled up, so I had a bit of time off, and I wanted to turn pro. My coach at the time was only an amateur coach, so he said, look, if you want to turn pro, I'll get my pro license and I'll do it with you. And I was like, sweet. He did that, and then in 2019 I turned professional.
What age were you when you turned pro?
I was 25. I was 21 the first time I ever stepped in the ring.
Okay, so 4 years it took you. 4 years made you, basically.
4 years made me 1,000,000%. Changed my life. And then I had my first 2 pro fights, winning them on points. And then bang, we went into lockdown for 2 years, which was frustrating for everyone.
Yeah, what was it like being a boxer during lockdown? We've never spoke about that, have we?
We've had one, haven't we? We had Tyler that
Tyler did.
Was breaking through, but he said it didn't really stop him going through.
Yeah, I suppose it was where you were at the point of us going into lockdown. So I know that River, who had a massive impact on me turning pro, he was always there through. Like, I met him in Magaluf when we was 18, and he met a girl that we went out there with, sort of thing. And me and my pal went out there with a couple of girls that we knew, and she met him. They was like seeing each other and ended up going out for a bit. And then since then we've been mates for over a decade. It was 2012, so it's been that long.
Wow.
And then since then, he always knew me for, especially when we turned 18, 19, I was always fighting in town and stuff like that. Because by this point, I've got my hands now. I know I can fight. And I've been through some stuff with my old man, through some big, like having to defend my dad, and I was having some crazy fights. So I knew that I could defend myself at this point. So I was young and dumb. So getting
Speak a lot about your dad's relationship.
Yeah,
it's tough. Why is you don't have to go into this, but why is it tough?
It's not really tough. My dad is quite young. My dad was a DJ, still is a DJ, but
cool, man.
Quite a big DJ. He used to DJ at like How to Scout with Cole Cox and Stevie IPD and stuff like that at How to Scout in front of like 10,000 people. So quite a big name within the hardcore and then drum and bass scene. Quite popular very popular within our town and stuff like that. But by the time when I was 12, we moved to Boxwell Street, which was like, it was a rough area. It was crap. This is where I met all my a lot of my friends that I'm mates with to this day. But there was a lot of drugs going on around the area, a lot of fighting. My mum and dad were splitting up and falling out all the time at this point. If you're from my area, you know it was just Andy and Ellen. That's what they're like. They'll get back together. They're always fighting. They're always doing this. So I was just out doing my thing. By the time I was like 14, 15, I'd see my dad knocking people out all the time, getting into fights. And then by the time I was 17, we had a big family feud with people within our family. I won't go into it too much, but like to the point where we're having riots just between like friends and families. It was crazy. So by the time I came out of that and got into boxing and got into combat sports wasn't scary to me at all, because not when you're having people try and get you with weapons of fucking mass destruction and shit like that.
You've obviously got no fear, because you said that you stepped into a ring with no notice.
Yeah, I feel like
a fight.
I think everyone gets this fear, and I wouldn't say I'm not fearful, because everyone gets it, and that them nerves and that feeling before you get into a fight, everyone gets it. But the things that I'd been through in my life up until that point got me to the point where you sort of just take it with a pinch of salt and then deal with the nerves after. If you can do that and you can handle the nerves, then you can go really far in this sport, because the nerves stop people. They stop people in their tracks. They will beat themselves up before they even get into a fight, and that's where a lot of people's losses come.
You either harness your nerves or
and exactly that. So
from
because of this, River would always tell me, Ash, you should get in the gym, and I'd go do a bit of training with him in there, him here and there, and I'd spar people, and then Brennan would take us over to different sparrings, and I'd do way better than I should against these 20, 30, 40 bouters. And then got into it and never looked back. So
growing up, you said you did a lot of the dancing.
Yeah,
I know what it was like growing up. Did you ever get any stick for that?
Nah, not really, because I was a street dancer up until I went to college. It was sort of like pretty cool that I could dance, and getting made fun of weren't really a thing to me, because I'd been getting made fun of because like my skin color and worse things than dancing growing up to that. So and in our town, it's the banter's banter. People can call you names, and you just take it with a pinch of salt. It is what it is.
I could have danced when I was.
Yeah, it was all right.
The girls, and
that's the thing. When I went to college, because I weren't a ladies' man or anything like that. Didn't really have confidence when it comes to women until I went to college, and I was with girls every day that was speaking about their relationships and learning, and then me and Tom was always getting with the girls from college and stuff like that. So by the time I was 18, I was using it to my benefit. So I didn't really care what anyone would say about me doing ballet at college when I was performing at festival in front of 50,000 people on the same stage as Skepta and Boy Better Know. So I didn't really care what they had to say at this point. And then I'd been going to my dad's rave since 12 anyway. Like I'd hold his records and go in, and then be at a Midlands Underground event.
What was that like? Because that was a massive scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was huge. It was wicked, to be fair. Don't get me wrong. It got me. It opened my eyes to the drug scene quite early, and I've never really spoke about it. But I've been one to take drugs from early teenage years. From like 14 till my early 20s, I was chasing that party scene. I thought from the Neaton, if you take drugs, you're cool. If you sell drugs, you're even cooler. And that's just how it is. And that's how kids from Hilltop, Camp Hill, Stockingford, really, that's how they see it. And when they're old enough, they want to start selling drugs. And I got to the point where I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make my mum and dad proud, but make my dad proud, because he was quite established within our area, and he gave up his career essentially to have a family life and a kid. I thought, well, now it's on me to do something for our family name and get us out of there, and that's where we're on now, really. There's only one route I can really take if I don't go through boxing, and it's just a dark path that I came off quite a long time ago. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You find, don't you, that route tends to be very close to the boxing route?
Oh, very close, especially when all the people that are coming to watch me are still the same people that I grew up with, still on the sesh, let's say, every weekend, still partying and don't know any different. And I'm not knocking anyone for taking drugs, because if anyone knows me, They know the area that I'm from. They know the lifestyle that I've been brought up in. They know that that's what I was around. And yeah, I just want to show kids, especially the kids that are growing up now, that there is a different way, because even now they just view it as cool, view selling as cool, and it's not cool. It's just a way to make a bit of money easier than having no other option, especially when you've got no qualifications. You're not in college, you've been kicked out of school, like most of my friends were, and then you go to jail at 16, 17 years old, like half of my mates did, and then some of them start dying, and then it's just well, which one of us can sell the most drugs? Which one of us can make the most money? And a lot of the time, it's none of us, because none of us knew how to not. When you grow up at 14, you start taking drugs and then trying to sell them, not just like a bit of weed or something like that. You don't know how to not smoke it. I've got it here. You think it's there, and then you owe money. And that was like that was my teenage years, really. Yeah. You're not mature, but you think you are.
Wow.
And that's what a lot of people did. So when I got into combat sports and wanting to turn professional, I knew that was the life that I was leaving behind. And although we're still struggling, we ain't made too much money from boxing as of yet. I know that with a lot of hard work for the next couple of years, if I've only got 4 years left, I can change my family's life forever in that time.
Should you feel like you're carrying the weight of your whole family on your shoulder?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And they don't put the weight on me. And they're if I was to quit now, they'd be proud of every achievement that I've ever done. I've got an amazing family. I've got amazing kids that are going to go on to do their own thing in life. I've got a son now. My daughters are 10, 11, and 12, all close together. They're growing up. Two of them are one's going into year 7, one's going into year 8, one's going into year 6. Within the next few years, they're going to be leaving school. I've got a 2-year-old boy. He's 3 in December, and I see life differently now, especially since I've had my son. Now, like when I had my son, I realised how much I took my daughters for granted when they were younger. Like I'd let my parents look after them more than they should while I was out partying. But now it's really about teaching them how to be, and if I can teach them how to be and put my work into boxing, then I can be an inspiration, I suppose, for the other people around me.
And when talking about that, this is your time now. Is that kind of where you're at? This is where you want to.
Most definitely.
And you've had 10 wins. So why no title shot?
Well, we had our first 2 fights, then bang, lockdown. Within the lockdown, it's not like I was training like everyone else. I was in my garden chilling and smoking. Smoking has been my biggest downfall up until smoking weed. Yeah, I've never really been one to smoke fags apart from when I was at school. But smoking weed, something that has been involved in our family for generations. Yep. My granddad Rod is passed now. He passed when I was 14, and my nan came from a scene. Have you ever seen the film Dope with Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
That was essentially my granddad. Apart from my granddad didn't move on to selling coke, he was always involved in cannabis. He got sent down. Him and the mayor got caught smuggling. The mayor's son at the time got caught smuggling dope back into the country and got sent down for a few years. And they also got sent to a Moroccan jail, getting caught over there, where my granddad my nan had to get some money up to bail him out, and then they had to just leave the country, just had to go across the border and then leave the country, never go back, sort of thing. So that was their lifestyle. Hippies, really loving peace and love, 60s type grandparents. But that was just the lifestyle we had, and even to this day, our family smokes cannabis. And
so what I want to ask you on that is, how do you find that cannabis goes with boxing? Talk to me about training, what it's like. Does it enhance it? Does it have a negative effect? Does it have a positive effect?
And this is something
I'm really interested. Yeah, I'm really interested to hear this.
This is something that I've never really spoke on it, because I sort of smoked in the background. My smoking cannabis and my boxing were 2 different things completely. No one would have ever even known that I smoked it. Okay. But realistically, it hinders it. It hinders your training. Yeah, if you're waking up in the morning and you smoke, it's easy to not go training, and then you're smoking at night time. And I believe there are a lot of benefits from cannabis and the compounds that are in the cannabis plant. But when you're smoking it to the extent that I was, it would hinder it. I was lazy.
So let's rewind though. You mentioned about smoking in the morning and you're not wanting to go for your workout or whatever.
Yeah.
let's say you did go to your workout and you say you smoked just before, does being high or slightly high, does that make the workout better or worse? Tell me.
Potentially, because I was always in a position where I was smoking every day. I was to the point where smoking didn't really affect
so
me.
You never knew what it was like to do it.
Not to do it. But say now, I actually stopped smoking 7 weeks ago. Again, like before I got my fight date. I would always stop before my fight dates anyway to make sure it weren't in my system, which was hard. You can't sleep, and then you're relying on sleepers from the doctors or night nurse and stuff like that just to get to sleep. And
how long do you find the withdrawals pass?
It takes weeks, and then after that, the dreams start, and you're having nightmares and night terrors. So this time, I just got to the point. Well, I had my first loss last year in June. I had the Stannard fight where I fought for the Midlands title. Had my first win, and I stopped 11 weeks before that fight, and it was the best time that I'd ever had in training. I weren't missing sessions, and then I came back, and then I got the fight. I was going to defend my title, and then about 5 weeks before, my opponent pulled out. So I was just fighting a journeyman. So then I became complacent. I'm still smoking. I'm being lazy. I'm missing sessions here and there because I know I'm better than this kid. It's just some foreign journeyman that's coming over with a 50-50 record. And I'm watching his footage. I'm going to blow him away in the first round.
I mean, I'm a massive stoner myself.
Yeah,
I've got here a big stoner myself. So, and I remember going to the gym when I was high, and it was always a better experience.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know if the workout was better or worse.
And that's the thing where people are divided, especially within the sport, especially within the border controls in different countries and different sports. And it's each to their own. Especially like in MMA, it's not prohibited now to smoke cannabis, so people are using it for the benefits, but there's a lot of benefits to having things in moderation. Some THC in moderation might help you sleep better to get there. So it might help you feel better within yourself. But smoking it every single day and abusing the substances is going to have a negative impact, definitely.
So you went completely clean, sober for your fight.
Yeah,
and then when you'd have your fight, literally the next day, was it like
terrible, and
was it? So it was like that.
It weren't. I would never blame the cannabis for making me lose. It was me that lost that fight. It was nothing.
You were sober anyway. So
I was sober anyway. Yeah, so it's got nothing to do with the THC anyway, and the cannabis. But I was eating. I weren't dieting. I weren't going to training sessions, and it all has a negative impact.
Yeah.
And like the eating, the dieting side of it, that was a terrible thing. I was going out drinking 4 weeks before my fight.
Eating.
Terrible. That kills me. That kills me. And when you are now looking back, if I'd have just put a little bit of work in for them last 5 weeks, I'd have slapped the head off this opponent. And everything happens for a reason. My partner, she went and seen a what are they called? They read your future and stuff like that.
Fortune teller.
A clairvoyant. She went and see a clairvoyant, and I'm skeptical about that stuff like that. I'm getting quite religious now. I'm getting older. I've always been quite spiritual, but I've always been quite skeptical when it comes to like clairvoyance and stuff like that, because I feel like they could just say anything and just go off something quite that everyone can relate to, and then if anything happens within the future, you just look back and be like, oh, then maybe that's what they were talking about. But this woman said, she actually said, I'm going to have some penalty points on my driving license. I need to be careful. The next week I got two. Like I hit 2 speeding cameras. They come through one week, and then the other week I had to take some points and then go do a course. Got a load of fines. And she said it has to be. I know he smokes. He's got tattoos on his neck. She was speaking about my Irish mum. And the things that she was saying, I was sort of like said to her, oh, like whatever. But she said, tell him it's all or nothing. And he'll know what I mean by that. And that has always stuck in my mind. So when I took that loss, I said to myself, look, and bear in mind, I broke my hand in that fight in the first round. I dropped him. But if I was fitter, I could have beat him on one hand. So again, it's not the hand. It was me overall that lost that fight. And still, if you go back and watch the fight, I didn't lose it. I dropped him in the first round. That's a 10-8. I win the second round, and he hits me after the bell rocking my legs a little bit, and the ref tells him off. Didn't take a point or anything, just tells him off a little bit. I give the third and fourth away because I was a little bit hesitant to take a shot. I take the fifth 1,000,000% because he didn't land a shot on me, and then the sixth I gave away because I was exhausted because I was lazy. So I thought I should have been up a point, but that's not how the ref sees it. And that's not it weren't my decision to make. I had my job to do. I didn't do it, and then he won. Bearing in mind that was his first fight within the UK in a number of years, and then since then he's had a load of fights in the UK, getting a load of paydays. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy for him. That is he's from Panama. They ain't got, compared to my life, I imagine his life was way tougher and way less of privileges that we would have got. So for him to get that, it's great. And then I had a few months off, feeling sorry for myself, went back to drinking, went back to smoking, falling out with my missus, just really feeling sorry for myself. And then I got, my hand was healed, got to the start of the year. We have a Commonwealth title eliminator against a kid called Billy Taylor in London. And I'm like, brilliant. It's going to be at the O2 within a couple of weeks. We've got face-offs. We've got to climb up the O2 and have face-offs. Boom, he pulls out of the fight. With no reason at all. You just don't want the fight anymore. The day
another journeyman.
The fight was off. That was sort of it. And I weren't going to fight on another person's event for ticket money when I was supposed to just bounce back from this loss and get straight back into title contention. And then that stressed me out. Carried on drinking, carried on eating, carried on smoking. Then we get another opportunity against Kingsley Edgbinike. No, I believe the first one was an English eliminator, sorry. And then I get another one for the Commonwealth eliminator against Kingsley Edgbinike. Brilliant. Set it up. It's going to be at York Hall in London. Boom, a couple of weeks later, he pulls out. He said it was for, well, he said it was for taking another opportunity for the actual Commonwealth bout, so you can't knock him for it. But then he never fought that fight anyway. So yeah, just feeling really crap. And then I break my hand in sparring a few months ago. Well, about 5 months ago. Same hand, different part of the hand, just freak accident, getting tired in training and throwing a big shot, hand goes. So up until about 8 or 9 weeks ago, I was really in a crap place, coming out of it and then going back and really thinking, am I going to do this? Am I going to carry on? And then it got to the point I just remembered what that clairvoyant had said, it's all or nothing. And I actually got some chocolate, mushroom chocolate it was. I got some of that, and I had a spirit. I'm quite spiritual. I've had Cambo a number of numerous times now, and I believe there are things out there that can benefit us and show us, lift the veil and show us a different side of what we know as life. And I'd been taking my son to the park, who's 2, and he was climbing up this climbing frame. And every time he was trying to climb up, he'd need my help to do it. And I was saying, look, you're all right. And he was like, no, daddy. So I was helping him up, and he did it. The second time, helped him a bit less. I was like, see, he didn't even need me. The third time, he did it on his own. After that, he didn't need my help. It was sort of like, it was blind faith that he had in me. He knew that I was there. And now I believe in God 1,000,000%. And the closer that I get to God, the closer that I get to myself, and the better I am becoming as a human being, as a person. And in this experience, because I had the intentions of I want to stop smoking, I want to stop drinking, I want to eat better, I want to train all the time. And I had this click in my head, this thought that was almost like, see, you didn't even need me. It was almost like God, the Father, was telling me that same thing that I was telling my son. So to just have blind faith, and just put your work in. And I'd never look back. That's it. Not needed to do any other experience, not taken a single thing. It's been 7 weeks now. So
wow, man, that's really impressive.
Yeah, that's it.
Well
and
done.
Now we've got the fight.
Seriously, well done. The fact that you're not, you're doing it for that must take real motivation, determination, dedication.
Yeah, well, I've never been one to, like, I'd drink a bit when I'd go out, and I'd smoke weed recreationally, I'd say, but I'd smoke it every single day. But apart from that, I was relatively healthy anyway. I trained, and it's not like I had a big struggle physically to stop anything. It's not like I used to be addicted to crack cocaine or heroin, something that is, or an alcoholic that would physically take a toll on my body if I stopped. It was mental. It was, I wanted to smoke, so I'm not going to stop. But now it's completely changed my life for the
You're in the
better.
best shape of your life now, best position.
Million
You've ever
percent.
been in, really.
Million percent. I'm sparring better than I ever have. I'm mentally better than I've ever been.
So, going back to the sorry, we got sidetracked by talk of weed and stuff. I always get
Yeah,
excited about that sort of
yeah,
stuff. It's fascinating.
yeah, it is.
Weed and training.
They go side and side sometimes, but for
10
me,
wins.
10 wins. Hadn't had any
Why
title
haven't you had
shots.
a title shot? Because we know people that have had way less wins than that.
And I
And
truly
they've had title
believe,
shots. What's that down to?
I truly believe it's my ability within the sport and my confidence, maybe my personality as a boxer. People just don't want to take the risk. I had my first 2, went into lockdown, came back out. I had 5 fights within a year in 2022, my most active year.
Hold on a minute. You're saying they don't want to take the risk. They don't want to fight you.
They don't want to fight me.
Okay, so they're scared of fighting.
Scared of fighting me.
Who's deciding the fight?
So my manager will.
Is it?
Yeah,
They're going to say in it.
They're going to say no. We got a different opponent, and I could name 10 different fighters on this podcast that didn't want to fight me and didn't take the shot. Well, I'm not going to knock them down because they've gone on to fight other people and they've got their own route. But I know if from their perspective, if I was them, there's easier fights to fight than me. I'm a switcher. I'm awkward. I'm confident. I hit like
I
a
have
rock with
read you've got a very flashy, silky style. Where did that come from? Was it the dancing? Was
I believe
it
it's
Mayweather?
Yeah, maybe watching Mayweather and stuff like that, but it's most definitely my footwork from dancing. I had that natural ability to adapt in fighting. So when I kind of stepped in for the first time, I already had that in and out movement. There's something in boxing that you've either got or you haven't. My coach says to me, and I've got it. You can't teach it. And now we're learning the basics really well within boxing. We're going to take over this game.
So I've seen a bit of your footage of your fights, and I can still see that martial arts movement involved in
karate in and out type stance.
Still see that style in there,
and that's it. And people find that difficult. Don't get me wrong. When I'm inspiring, there's people that can just tuck up and just take a few shots and then walk through it because they know within a few rounds I'm going to be gassing and hurting. Like for instance, my first 10 rounder. My manager John put me in there with Sam Eggington, and I was sparring him every single week.
That's a big name as well, isn't it? Wow.
And he's someone where you can't just hit him and knock him out like I've done with a lot of people, or hit him and they step back. You hit him and then he goes, all right, son, you're getting a couple back. So he would beat me pillar to post. I remember the first time, I think I did 5 or 6 rounds with him. He beat me pillar to post. Literally, I'm falling over. I'm feeling sorry for myself. My manager and my coach, just get up, Ash. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And you sort of do this thing in boxing, in sparring. It's an unwritten rule. If you sort of feel sorry for yourself a lot of the time and be like, oh, I'm getting beat up, the other person will be like, oh, we're only sparring, I won't. Some ain't got that in it. Like, if you're going in there and you've been cracking him in the early shots, he's going to get you in the late shots because that's what it's about. And I remember hearing John say, show him what it's about, Ash. Show him what it's about, Sam. Show him what it means to be a pro. And then I was like feeling really sorry for myself on the way home. And my coach is like, look, Ash, you got through it. And then, boom, we started doing really, really well against him. Don't get me wrong, in them later rounds, he'd still get me because I weren't at the level that he's been at physically. And then that got me into a position where I was far superior than my opponent, Stanley Stannard. No one thought, and I mean no one, apart from the people in our close circle, thought I was going to beat Stannard. He had about 70 amateur fights, won numerous titles, had fought for a 10-rounder. It was a tough, slick, awkward southpaw himself. But I knew the second we got that fight opportunity and the offer, I said yes straight away. And my manager saying, look, Ash, it's a win-win. You beat him, you're going to go on to better things. If you lose, it don't really matter. I ain't losing to this guy. And I feel like he knew it. I got in his head early, I dictated the pace and got the win. And then, we had our hiccup, fell off for a little bit, feeling sorry for myself, the worst thing that you can do, because when you're just feeling sorry for yourself and still not work, because you can feel sorry for yourself and be in a dark place, as long as you're staying dedicated and you're hitting the gym, you don't need motivation. Motivation is something that comes and goes within training and boxing. I might want to be in training and get halfway through it. I'm not motivated anymore. I want to go home. But if you're dedicated to the sport and you go in there, it can all change. And I've realised that now. And now we're at that stage in our career. There's really no one that I can see doing anything. And that's why, we need to take it with both hands. And
now you found that clarity what do you think a realistic target is for yourself?
World champion, multiple world champions, multiple weight world titles is what the potential for me could be. We're coming down to welterweight. Paddy Donovan against Crocker. They're fighting for the IBF title, the one that Javon Ennis has just given up. Paddy Donovan is someone that I've been watching because he's a slicks southpaw from Ireland, superstar within boxing already, especially within the amateurs. Same alias, he's the real deal Donovan, I'm the real deal Eales. I'm bigger than him. I believe I hit harder than him. Am I as fit and conditioned? Maybe not yet, but I'm on the way there, and I'm slightly deluded within my skill set, but you need to be within boxing. If you don't believe in yourself, why can anyone else be? But I know once I've got the conditioning and fitness that they've got, which I'm en route to getting, they're all in trouble. None of them welterweights are going to be able to do anything to me. Super welterweight is a lot easier than the welterweight division anyway, so I'll bounce between them easy. And if I win a British title and don't do anything else within this sport, I would have underachieved, most definitely.
You've set the targets high then?
High. And I set the bar. I wanted to, when I first got in the thing and I was speaking to River, I wanted to win the novice, under 10s novices. That was my goal. I smashed that. When I was turning pro, I wanted to win the Midlands, and I smashed that. And then I've raised the bar so high now that by the time I hit it, we'll see what else there is. And I know I'm 31 now. I might have 4 or 5 years left. I might have longer, depending on how my body is. But if I've got four years left in this sport, I really need to push the pace now. And I might take a few losses on the way. I'm willing to fall further than anyone else, but I'm willing to climb higher. I don't care if the falls higher. You just get up and jump straight back on that ladder. And I know that people give up before they get what they can get in this sport. It's a mental side of it. They think, oh, I've bought a house, I've made a bit of money, I've had my chances, let me just give up now. But I'm telling you now, the only people that can beat me is me. And if I lose on the way, that is just a learning curve, and I will get a world title before my day's done in this game, 1,000,000%.
Wow. So just a matter of time. You just need to keep racking up wins. And so what can you do? Tell me what you can do to get a world title shot now.
All I got to do is keep training and keep winning. There's only so long.
Wins, they can't ignore you anymore.
Realistically, within my next 5 or 10 fights, I'm going to be screaming on the door for a world title. They might call me deluded, they might call me silly, but within the next 24 months, I want to be fighting for world titles. People will say that that's crazy talk, but after this fight, when I do what I'm going to do to my opponent in 5 weeks, and I jump back on, because I'm not calling anyone out, I'm not screaming at anything at the minute, because I've had over a year off. I'm getting this fight out of the way, and bearing in mind, we want a 50-50 opponent for this fight. My manager's trying to get it, but it's tough to get me a fight, so I'm probably going to end up with a tough foreigner for this fight. But whoever it is, we're going to go do a number on them, and then that's when we're back on the board. If anyone wants to give us a shot and think, oh no, he's had a loss now, he's got some cracks in his foundations, let's find them, then give it a shot. See what I do when you give me that shot.
You've got more chance if you've got a loss.
1,000,000%. This loss might have done this. Everything happens for a reason, and I'd still be complacent in my training if I'd have won that fight like I should have. And if I hadn't have broke my hand, I might have took an opportunity too early. I might have got a British title or an English title shot at a time where I weren't actually ready for it. So mentally, not physically, because I know my skill set's superior than a lot of these boxers. But now I'm in a better place mentally, and I'm on the way to being in. Well, I'm probably fitter now than I was for the Stannard fight. Maybe not quite as 10-round ready, because we're just building back up to that, but I'm physically in a lot better place. My skill set is brilliant at the moment, and we've only just got back into it. Once I get this win out of the way, we're going to be screaming for titles. Bobby Dalton's just won the welterweight English against Ben Vaughan in a very close, very good fight. I thought Ben took the win, to be honest, but I'd take that with both hands straight away. Carl Fale has just beat Amir Abu Baker for my Midlands. I won the Midlands title, and then I broke my hand, and they offered the Abu Baker fight, and I said, yeah, well, my hand's healing at the moment, so I can't take it on the date they give me. And then before you know it, that bait's vacant. I vacated the bout. I didn't vacate nothing. They didn't strip me or nothing either. Essentially, it was just vacant, and then they fought for it. Carl Fale's done that, but he also beat him for a British eliminator, so he's probably fighting for the British title for his next fight as well. So that's a fight I'm looking at. I'd love that fight. Good pedigree Carl Fale has, and his brother Ben, but nothing that I can beat with a camp easily as well. I've seen in that fight that that Carl could be hurt, and if he was to take that fight, then that would be an easy British win for there's the British title. But there's Europeans, there's Commonwealths, there's a lot of different routes and opportunities within the welterweight and super welterweight division. So yeah, my weight's great, my mind's great, and yeah, we're ready to
for your next fight. How can people hit you up? How can they get tickets? How can they watch it?
They can hit me up on my Instagram, realdeal_Eales. I've got tickets available for that. I believe it's going to be streamed as well, but you can just check on the XLR or Scott Murray's Facebook and check that out. But it's in Cannock, and it's going to be a good one. Yeah, can't wait.
So you're feeling ready, and we'll wish you all the best for your fight.
And you look ready, man.
That's it. And I feel like because it's been over a decade now since I first got into this, and time passes ridiculously fast. People don't realise how fast time goes. And I've only been a pro since 25, so 6 years coming up. I've done more in this 6 years than anyone ever could have thought I would have done as a pro. And never, when I first got into this game, it was like, he's just a dancer. People have put his status on, oh, everyone's an MMA fighter nowadays. And I'm thinking, I know that's about me. And then people are like, oh, bloody hell, he is pretty good. And then it's all right, you could have done it. And then I go to boxing, and then I turn to the pros, and everyone's like, he should have stuck to MMA. He's never going to be a pro boxer. And now I'm at the point, I'm past that. People in my town definitely believe in me. I see people I've grown up with for years saying, Ash, just keep smashing it. I know you're going to do great. And it's almost like I've passed the barrier of he wants to be a boxer. Now it's sort of expected of me a little bit. So now I've got, I've done some talking, and I've got to walk the walk now and do something positive for Nuneaton as well. There's a lot of negative things going on within our town at the moment. A lot of division, and a lot of falling outs politically, and just locally. There's not many opportunities. There's loads of homeless people, a lot of alcoholics, and drug takers. There's a lot of suicides. One of my friends killed himself like 11 weeks ago. It's just another number now, unfortunately. I've had numerous people just lose the battle to mental health. And I want to bring some positive things back to Nuneaton. I want to give people a chance to see that there's more to life than just Nuneaton's crap and there's nothing in life. If you want something, you can get it. If you can picture it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, and it's as easy as that, really. The hard bit is just doing it.
That's a great motto.
Yeah.
Well done, mate.
No, I appreciate it, bro.
And we'll end it on that, but we wish you all the best with your fight, and thank you for coming on.
Really appreciate it. Really
good luck to you, man.
Nah, thank you, man.